Echoes in the void. The coffee had gone cold hours ago. But Captain Elena Vasquez continued to nurse the ceramic mug as she stared out at the endless expanse of space beyond the bridge windows of the UY's Prometheus. 6 months into their deep space reconnaissance mission along the outer rim, her crew had cataloged 17 uninhabited systems, mapped 3 new hyperspace routes, and discovered exactly 0 signs of intelligent life. The monotony was beginning to wear on everyone. "Captain," called Lieutenant Commander Chun from the communications station, her voice carrying an unusual tension that immediately caught Vasquez's attention. "I'm picking up something on the long-range array. It's definitely artificial, but the signal pattern doesn't match anything in our databases." Vasquez set down her mug and moved to Chun's station. At 42, she had spent nearly 2 decades in the Terran Navy, working her way up from a junior navigation officer to commanding her own deep space exploration vessel. She had learned to trust the instincts of her crew, especially when something didn't feel right. "Show me what you've got, Commander." Chun's fingers danced across her console, bringing up a 3-dimensional representation of the signal on her main display. The pattern was unlike anything in human experience, complex, layered, and somehow organic despite its clearly technological origin. "The signal is coming from approximately 67 light-years galactic north," Chun reported. "But here's the strange part. It's being broadcast on multiple frequencies simultaneously, including some wavelengths we didn't even know could carry information. Any luck with the translation matrix?" "That's just it, Captain. The AI is working on it. But there are linguistic structures here that don't follow any known patterns. It's like they're trying to communicate mathematical concepts and emotions at the same time." Vasquez frowned. In the century since humanity had developed faster than light travel, they had encountered 7 distinct alien civilizations. Each had been vastly different in terms of biology and culture, but their communication methods had all followed logical patterns that human linguists could eventually decode. This was something else entirely. How long until we have a working translation? "The AI estimates another 4 hours, Captain, but..." Chun's console suddenly lit up with new data streams. "Wait, something's changed. The signal is getting stronger, and there are emotional markers the system is starting to recognize. Fear, desperation, and something else. The AI is calling it species-wide terror." Before Vasquez could respond, the ship's artificial intelligence spoke through the bridge speakers in its characteristic calm monotone. "Translation progress is accelerated due to emotional context markers. Partial translation available for review. Put it through the main speakers," Vasquez ordered. Static filled the bridge for several seconds before a voice emerged, melodic and layered like a chorus, but carrying undertones of absolute despair that needed no translation. "To any who can hear this transmission, this is Prime Harmonizer Zeleketh of the Zephyrian Collective, broadcasting from the failing world of Melody's Rest. We are the last. The silence has come for our system, just as it came for the others. 23 of our worlds have fallen dark, their songs ending forever." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Vasquez felt a chill run down her spine as the alien voice continued. "We know not who might receive this message, but our ancient archives speak of warriors from distant stars, fighters born on a world where death walks beside life in an endless dance. If such beings exist, if such strength can be found among the stellar winds, we plead for your aid. The silence consumes everything, our ships, our people, our very stars. It leaves nothing behind but emptiness." The signal began to break up, but the final words came through with crystal clarity. "The machines are learning. With each world they devour, they become stronger, smarter, more efficient. Soon they will spread beyond our cluster. Soon they will. Find others, please. Someone must survive to warn the galaxy what is coming. Silence returned to the bridge, but the weight of what they had heard seemed to press down on everyone present. Lieutenant Torres, the ship's science officer, was the first to speak. "Captain, if that transmission is genuine, we're looking at something beyond our current understanding of physics. The energy required to extinguish a star and consume an entire system. It's theoretically impossible with any known technology. Unless we're dealing with something that makes our most advanced science look like stone tools," Vasquez replied grimly. She turned to her navigation officer. "Ensign Park, plot a course for the source of that transmission. Maximum speed." "Captain," interrupted Commander Harrison, her second in command, "shouldn't we contact Earth Command first? We have protocols for first contact situations." Vasquez considered this. Harrison was right. Standard procedure called for immediate consultation with Terran Naval Command before making contact with unknown alien species. But something in the Zephyrian's voice convinced her that following protocol would mean arriving. Too late to help anyone. "Send a priority message to Earth Command with all the data we've collected," she decided. "But we're not waiting for orders. If there's something out there that can destroy entire star systems, Earth needs to know about it immediately. And if we can help these people, we have a moral obligation to try." As the Prometheus changed course and engaged its faster-than-light drive, Vasquez couldn't shake the feeling that everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the galaxy was about to change forever. 3 days later, they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of what their star charts indicated should have been the Zephyr system. What they found defied every law of physics they understood. "Jesus Christ," whispered Ensign Park, staring at his sensor displays. "Captain, where the hell is everything?" Where their charts showed a binary star system with 7 planets and a thriving spacefaring civilization, they found only darkness. Not the darkness of empty space, but something far more disturbing, a void so complete that even their most sensitive instruments detected nothing. No gravitational signatures, no electromagnetic radiation, no trace that anything had ever existed here. Asterisk, it's like the entire system was just erased, reported Torres, his voice tight with disbelief. Not destroyed, not scattered, erased. The matter is gone, converted into something our sensors can't detect. Lieutenant Commander Chun suddenly straightened at her station. "Captain, I'm picking up a weak signal from the edge of the void. It's not Zephyrian. The pattern is different, more mechanical." "Put it through." The voice that emerged from the speakers was clearly artificial, but carried an undertone of organic desperation that suggested it was being controlled by a living being. "Emergency beacon Alpha 77. This is Science Vessel Harmonic Dawn. If anyone receives this transmission, please respond. We are one of the last survivor ships from the Melody's Rest system. The silence found us 6 days ago. Our homeworld ... our sun ... Everything we ever built or loved is gone." Vasquez felt her heart rate increase. Living survivors. People they might actually be able to help. Asterisk, Chun, can you get a fix on that beacon? "Working on it, Captain. The signal is very weak, but ... got it. Bearing 27 Mark IV. Approximately 12 million kilometers from our current position. Take. U.S. there. Best speed." 2 hours later, the Prometheus approached a small cluster of debris floating in the void. As they drew closer, it became apparent that these weren't random pieces of wreckage, but rather a makeshift refugee camp constructed from the hulks of destroyed starships. Dozens of vessels, clearly from different time periods and technological levels, had been welded together to create a fragile sanctuary for the survivors. "Captain," Chun reported, "I'm reading approximately 3,000 life signs across the entire structure. Multiple species, though the majority appear to be Zephyrian. Open a channel. Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Terran ship Prometheus. We received your distress call and have come to offer assistance. Please respond. The reply came almost immediately, filled with an emotion that needed no translation, hope mixed with disbelief. Asterisk, Terran ship? Did you say Terran? From the burning world of ancient legend? We ... We thought such stories were mythology. This is Master Harmonizer Kelzath speaking for the survivors. Captain Vasquez, your people are the first to answer our call for help. Every other species we contacted fled when they learned about the silence. Vasquez exchanged glances with her bridge crew. Burning world? What exactly do your legends say about humanity? That far from the galactic center, on a world where predator and prey dance in eternal balance, there evolved a species that learned to fight not just for resources or territory, but for abstract concepts like honor and justice. Warriors who would sacrifice themselves for strangers, who could adapt to any threat, who could find ways to win battles that should have been impossible. Lieutenant Torres leaned over to Vasquez and whispered, Captain, they're describing Earth as a death world. From their perspective, our planet's evolutionary pressures created us to be natural warriors. Vasquez nodded and returned her attention to the communication. Master Harmonizer, we're going to dock with your structure and transfer you to our ship. Then you're going to tell us everything you know about the silence. If it's as dangerous as you say, Earth needs to be prepared. Captain, Kelzath's voice carried a note of warning. You don't understand. The silence doesn't just destroy. It learns. Every weapon used against it, every tactic employed, every strategy attempted, it adapts to and counters. 23 worlds fell because we couldn't surprise it, couldn't do anything it hadn't already seen and prepared for. Then it's a good thing, Vasquez replied with a grim smile. The humans specialize in doing things that don't make sense. As the Prometheus moved to dock with the refugee structure, Vasquez was already composing her report to Earth Command. The galaxy had a problem that required a very specific type of solution, the kind of solution that only a species crazy enough to evolve on a death world would even attempt. In her captain's log that night, Vasquez wrote, It appears humanity is about to discover why the universe considers us dangerous. And for the first time in our history, that reputation might be the only thing standing between civilization and extinction. The message she sent to Admiral Chun at Terran Naval Command was brief but comprehensive. Request immediate military. Response: We have encountered a threat that requires unconventional warfare tactics. Recommend deploying forces trained in chaos theory and asymmetric combat. Standard military doctrine will not be sufficient. The enemy adapts to logical strategies. We need to be illogical. As the Prometheus jumped to hyperspace carrying 3,000 alien refugees, Captain Vasquez looked out at the stars and wondered if humanity was about to face its greatest test or its finest hour. Warriors of the burning world, Admiral Sarah. Chan stood before the massive holographic display in Earth's Strategic Operations Center, watching as the largest military mobilization in human history took shape. Red dots representing fleet positions spread across three-dimensional space like stars in a constellation of war. In the 6 days since Captain Vasquez's report had reached Terra Command, every major shipyard in human space had been working around the clock. Admiral, called Colonel Morrison from the intelligence station, we've received confirmation from all 7 fleet commanders. Total force strength, 412 vessels, ranging from heavy dreadnoughts to single-pilot interceptors. Every ship is crewed by volunteers. Chun nodded, studying the tactical projections floating before her. At 55, she had commanded Earth's military forces through the Centauri border conflicts and the Titan mining wars, but this was different. This wasn't about territory or resources. This was about the survival of organic life in the galaxy. What's the status on Admiral Torres's special projects? Morrison's expression grew troubled. The Chaos Fleet is almost ready, Admiral. 36 vessels specifically designed for unconventional warfare. No two ships are identical, and none of them are built with crew survival as a primary consideration. Before Chun could respond, the main doors to the command center hissed open, admitting Admiral Marcus Torres himself. At 48, Torres was the youngest flag officer in the Terran Navy, but also the most innovative. His theories on asymmetric warfare had been considered too radical for conventional military doctrine until now. Admiral Chun, Torres, sighed, his weathered face grim but determined. My ships are ready. I have to ask one more time. Are you certain about this strategy? Once we implement the Chaos Protocol, there's no going back. We'll be fundamentally changing how humanity wages war. Chun looked at the intelligence reports scattered across her desk. 23 Zephyrian worlds consumed. 4 other species had attempted to fight the Silence using conventional tactics. All had been defeated within hours. The machine intelligence adapted to every logical strategy, countered every reasonable tactic, anticipated every sensible move. Admiral Torres, every military academy in known space, teaches the same basic principles: minimize casualties, maximize efficiency, achieve objectives with the least expenditure of resources. These machines have faced centuries of enemies who follow those principles. They've learned to predict and counter every logical response. Torres smiled grimly. Which is why we're going to give them something completely illogical. Humans who fight like humans actually fight. Messy, emotional, irrational, and utterly unpredictable. Sir, interrupted Lieutenant Yamamoto from the communications station, we're receiving a transmission from Captain Vasquez aboard the Prometheus. She's arriving at the Zephyrian homeworld of First Song. Put it through the main display. Captain Vasquez's face appeared on the holographic screen, but the background behind her was filled with activity as her crew prepared for what might be their final mission. Admiral Chun, we've reached First Song System. The situation is worse than we anticipated. The Silence machines have arrived, but they haven't begun their final assault yet. They're studying the planet, learning from the defensive measures the Zephyrians have put in place. How many civilians? Chun asked. Approximately 40 million on the surface, plus another 10 million in orbital habitats. The Zephyrians are trying to evacuate, but their transport capacity is limited. They can maybe save 10% of the population before the Silence begins its harvest. Torres leaned forward. Captain, I need you to observe their methods carefully. How do these machines learn? What patterns do they follow? Vasquez's image flickered as interference increased. Admiral Torres, they appear to operate as a collective intelligence. When one machine encounters something new, they all adapt within minutes. They've countered every Zephyrian defensive strategy by simply ... becoming immune to it. Perfect, Torres said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Then we'll give them something they can't become immune to. Humanity's greatest tactical advantage. Our complete inability to do the sensible thing. 3 hours later, the combined human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of First Song System. What they saw would have discouraged any rational military commander. The Silence machines were massive, each one the size of a small moon, their surfaces crawling with smaller units that built and rebuilt components in endless cycles. There were dozens of them, arranged in perfect geometric patterns around the Zephyrian homeworld. Captain Maria Santos, commanding the assault carrier Righteous Fury, opened a channel to the fleet. All ships, this is Santos. I can see why everyone who's faced these things has lost. They're beautiful in their perfection. Too bad we're about to ruin that for them. Admiral Torres's voice came through on the command frequency. All vessels, implement Chaos Protocol immediately. Remember, we are not here to achieve tactical objectives. We are here to break their ability to predict human behavior. Make them learn that learning has limits. The human fleet attacked with a savagery that would have horrified military strategists from any other species. Instead of forming battle lines or attempting coordinated maneuvers, they charged directly at the machine constructs, with weapons blazing and engines at maximum. Burn. The first wave was led by Captain James Wright in the destroyer Indomitable. Instead of targeting what appeared to be critical systems, he aimed his ship at what sensors indicated was purely decorative architecture on the nearest machine. The Silence Construct attempted to intercept what it assumed was a feint, expecting Wright to change course at the last moment and strike a vital target. Wright didn't change course. The Indomitable slammed directly into the meaningless decorative structure at full ramming speed, causing damage that served no strategic purpose whatsoever. The explosion carved a massive crater in the machine's hull, but destroyed nothing important. Right to fleet came his final transmission as his ship died around him. Sometimes the best way to win is to make victory meaningless for the enemy. The Silence machines tried to process what they had witnessed. Their collective intelligence analyzed the attack from every angle, searching for the hidden strategy, the deceptive tactic, the logical purpose. There was none. It was pure human spite, wrapped in explosives and delivered at relativistic speeds. Captain Santos, watching from her command bridge, laughed with genuine delight. Look at them. They're confused. The mighty perfect machines don't know what to make of a completely pointless sacrifice. She turned to her crew. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to do something that no military academy in the galaxy would approve of. We're going to launch every fighter we have directly into their point defense grid. Not to achieve any specific objective, just to see what happens. Her fighter squadrons launched with orders that would have gotten any other commander court-martialed. Fly unpredictably. Avoid hitting anything important. Make decisions that don't make tactical sense. Confuse them. The results were spectacular. The Silence machines, faced with attack patterns that followed no logical structure, began to overload their prediction algorithms. They adapted to each random action, but there was nothing to adapt to. The humans were being randomly destructive. For its own sake. On the surface of First Song, Colonel Patricia Reeves led the ground assault with tactics that would have been considered criminally insane by conventional military doctrine. Instead of securing strategic positions or targeting enemy command structures, her forces spread out across the planet's surface and began doing things that served no military purpose. Reeves to all ground units, she broadcast on an open channel, knowing the machines were listening. Objective Alpha is now Objective Gamma. No, wait, make that Objective Purple. Actually, forget objectives entirely. Just break things, loudly. Her soldiers, trained for conventional warfare, adapted to the chaos with the flexibility that had made humanity dangerous in the first place. They used Zephyrian musical instruments as improvised weapons. They turned children's playgrounds into fortified positions. They wrote poetry on the sides of buildings while under fire, for no reason other than to confuse the machines analyzing their behavior. The Silence constructs, for the first time in their existence, began to retreat. Their collective intelligence was overheating, trying to process actions that had no pattern, no purpose, no rational explanation. They had evolved to counter logical enemies. Humanity was the first opponent they had encountered that was fundamentally, magnificently illogical. Captain Vasquez, observing from the Prometheus, opened a channel to the Zephyrian authorities. Master Harmonizer Kelzoth, begin full evacuation immediately. We're buying you time, but I don't know how long we can maintain this level of beautiful insanity. The evacuation proceeded under the cover of humanity's most successful military strategy: aggressive meaninglessness. Ships that should have been providing covering fire instead performed aerobatic maneuvers for no apparent reason. Ground forces that should have been holding defensive positions instead staged impromptu dance-offs in the middle of combat zones. Admiral Torres, commanding from the dreadnought Chaos Theory, watched as his unconventional fleet gradually overwhelmed machines that had consumed 23 star systems. All ships prepare for final phase operations. We're going to show these machines what happens when Deathworld predators get creative. The final assault was led by Captain Santos in a maneuver that military historians would later call either the greatest tactical innovation or the greatest act of insanity in human history. She ordered her entire carrier group to form up in a pattern that served no defensive or offensive purpose. They arranged themselves to spell out profanity in three-dimensional space, using their ship's positions as letters. The silence machines tried to analyze this formation, searching for hidden meaning, tactical advantage, strategic purpose. There was none. It was humans being human, crude, funny, and utterly unpredictable. As the machines struggled to process this final act of cosmic irreverence, the evacuation ships carrying 40 million Zephyrian civilians broke orbit and jumped to safety. The entire population of First Song had been saved by humanity's willingness to sacrifice tactical coherence for strategic chaos. The silence machines, facing an enemy they could never predict or counter, withdrew into the deep void between galaxies. For the first time in their existence, they had encountered something they couldn't learn from, because there was nothing logical to learn. In the aftermath, as rescue ships collected survivors from the human fleet, Admiral Torres filed his final report. Mission successful. Enemy withdrawn. Human casualties: 67% of engaged forces. Tactical assessment: fighting like humans is humanity's greatest weapon. Recommend immediate establishment of chaos warfare training programs for all allied species. Captain Vasquez, one of the survivors, added her own note to the historical record. Today we learned why the galaxy fears us. It's not because we're particularly strong, or smart, or advanced. It's because when faced with impossible odds, we don't try to find the logical solution. We get creative, get angry, and do something so magnificently stupid that even we don't know what's going to happen next. The Zephyrian refugees, safe in their new temporary colonies, updated their ancient archives. The legends of the warriors from the burning world were no longer mythology. They were historical fact. Humanity had saved them not through superior technology or tactics, but through their willingness to embrace chaos as a weapon. Years later, when other species asked how humanity had defeated an enemy that had consumed entire star systems, the answer was always the same. We fought like humans fight. Badly, loudly, and with absolutely no regard for what made sense. It was, as Captain Santos had written in her final log before her ship died, inglorious, pointless sacrifice, the most human thing we've ever done, and probably the most important. The galaxy was safe, protected by the most dangerous species it had ever produced. Humans who had learned that sometimes the greatest victory comes from refusing to play by anyone's rules, including their own.